Hey everyone, welcome. On this channel, we're going to get into an advanced look at the story Disastrous Necromancer. Come with me as we unravel the journey of Lin Moyu, from his beginnings to him becoming a force to be reckoned with in a mysterious new world. If this story sounds like something you'll enjoy, please like, share, and comment. Your support helps us keep providing these in-depth looks into the world of Disastrous Necromancer. Now let's continue.
The Sword Saint Lord's words about how to divide them up made it seem like they had already decided the outcome. She didn't even consider the possibility of not being able to defeat them. In her eyes, the three Saint Lords were like three dishes. It was just a matter of who would eat which one. The War Saint Lord said, "My War God Spear should be able to counter the Black Golden Saint Lord without issue." Lin Mo Han said, "The Deep Abyss Demon Lord has hunted Mo Yu several times before. As his sister, I naturally need to settle this score for my brother." The War Saint Lord looked at Lin Mo Han in shock, realizing she wasn't joking. The Sword Saint Lord didn't seem to have any reaction, but said in a low voice, "Then I'll take care of the Blood Bull Saint Lord. I'll cut off his bull head." In just a few sentences, the three Saint Lords had been divided up. Lin Mo Han slowly stood up, "Then I'll go prepare." She left the conference hall, trailing a fragrant breeze with her graceful steps. After she left, the War Saint Lord finally couldn't help but ask, "Can a Transcendent really handle a Saint Lord?" The gap between the Transcendent and Saint Lord realms was very large. A powerful Saint Lord could kill a Transcendent in a short time. The War Saint Lord could naturally see that Lin Mo Han was only at the Transcendent realm, and a newly ascended one at that, having been there for no more than 10 years. The Deep Abyss Demon Lord was a veteran Saint Lord with very strong combat power. Even he would have to be careful when facing him. How could Lin Mo Han, a newly ascended Transcendent, fight him? The Sword Saint Lord stood up, "Come on, I'll show you. We can talk as we watch." The War Saint Lord followed the Sword Saint Lord as they flew out of the fortress, flying through the army. A murderous aura permeated the army, with every soldier radiating intense fighting spirit. After decades of war and countless casualties, those who remained here had all been tempered by the fires of battle. The combined fighting spirit of the entire army was so intense that even the War Saint Lord felt shocked. He couldn't help but praise, "The Sword Saint Lord truly knows how to lead an army. This army no longer has any fear in their hearts." The Sword Saint Lord didn't hold back either, "Although my temper isn't good and you all call me crazy, when it comes to warfare, none of you can compare to me." The War Saint Lord immediately agreed, the words about being crazy were just jokes. In terms of warfare, the Sword Saint Lord is indeed unmatched. The Sword Saint Lord said, "We also have to thank Lin Mo Yu. The Shimu ancestral tree he brought back has been a great help. We have almost all the movements of the 100 Race Alliance under our control. This time, we know exactly how many troops, how many Transcendents, and how many Saint Lords the 100 Race Alliance is deploying. We can make targeted arrangements." The War Saint Lord also sighed, "Indeed, the contributions young friend Lin has made for our human race are rarely matched by others. Old Killer is currently using the Heart and Soul Stone to control the life form inside the Shimu ancestral tree. When that life form is born, Old Killer's combat power will increase greatly again." The Sword Saint Lord said, "He does need to increase his strength a bit. Otherwise, when the real big battle breaks out, he might die." The War Saint Lord finally couldn't help but ask, "What's the deal with Fairy Han? I remember you wanted to take her as your disciple back then, and even had a conflict with young friend Lin over it. Also, how can you be at ease letting Fairy Han go deal with the Deep Abyss Demon Lord?" His eyes were burning with curiosity. Having known the Sword Saint Lord for many years, he naturally knew that she wasn't the type to make rash decisions. Although the Sword Saint Lord had a bad temper and was somewhat crazy, that was only in terms of combat. Usually when it came to decision-making, she wouldn't act rashly. Otherwise, the human army wouldn't have been entrusted to her command. A look of reminiscence appeared in the Sword Saint Lord's eyes. "At that time, I took Mo Han into the Sword Realm, wanting to find an inheritance for her there. You know the situation in the Sword Realm. There are many inheritances there, with the two strongest being the Sword of Heaven and the Sword of Earth." The War Saint Lord nodded. "The Sword of Heaven belongs to the Heavenly Sword Sect, while the Sword of Earth belongs to the Earthly Sword Sect. As far as I know, someone has already obtained the inheritance of the Heavenly Sword Sect and even established a sect also called the Heavenly Sword Sect. The Heavenly Sword Sect has also taken action in this battle against the 100 Race Alliance." The Sword Saint Lord said, "What you know is only part of it. The Heavenly Sword Sect was an ancient great sect with many inheritances within it. The current Heavenly Sword Sect has only obtained part of the inheritance, not the top-tier inheritance. Their re-establishment of the Heavenly Sword sect is just giving themselves a golden signboard, borrowing the name of the ancient sect. The true inheritance of the Heavenly Sword sect has not been obtained by anyone so far. The War Saint Lord finally understood. So that's how it was. He didn't use swords and had never been to the Sword Realm, so he didn't understand the Sword Realm. The Sword Saint Lord continued, I've always wanted to obtain the inheritance of the Heavenly Sword sect, but I could never figure out how. However, these years haven't been without gains. I learned of an even more secret piece of information. In ancient times, the strongest sword sect was called the Heaven and Earth Sword sect. The Heavenly Sword sect and Earthly Sword sect were actually two sects that split off from the Heaven and Earth Sword sect. And the Sword Realm was created by the Heaven and Earth Sword sect. The Heaven and Earth Sword sect gathered various sword sects at that time, bringing their inheritances together to form the Sword Realm. This time, what I most hoped Lin Mohan would obtain was the inheritance of the Heaven and Earth Sword sect. The War Saint Lord was moved and urgently asked, did she get it? The Sword Saint Lord's expression became somewhat strange. You could say she got it, and you could also say she didn't get it. These words confused the War Saint Lord. He looked at the Sword Saint Lord, waiting for her to continue explaining. The Sword Realm is actually built within a rule world, which should belong to a supreme being. It's filled with the rule power of a supreme being, with many restrictions. I used my own rule power to activate the inheritance left by the Heaven and Earth Sword sect, and then tried to let Mohan make contact with it. The inheritance of the Heaven and Earth Sword sect is a sword called the Heaven and Earth Sword. As long as you bow to the Heaven and Earth Sword, you can know whether you're qualified to receive the inheritance. To be honest, I've bowed to it before and obtained an inheritance at that time, but it wasn't the strongest inheritance. Perhaps the Heaven and Earth Sword felt my qualifications weren't enough. But when Lin Mohan bowed to the Heaven and Earth Sword, it ran away. The War Saint Lord was stunned for a moment before exclaiming in surprise, ran away? Bowing was simply a matter of accepting or not accepting. What did running away mean? The Sword Saint Lord said, yes, it ran away, very quickly. At that time, I heard the Heaven and Earth Sword let out a scream. To be precise, it should have been the Sword Spirit screaming. It was very afraid. Mohan and I didn't know what to do, but fortunately, after just a few minutes, the Heaven and Earth Sword flew back. Then the Heaven and Earth Sword obediently stopped in front of Lin Mohan, not moving at all. The War Saint Lord suddenly remembered that Lin Mohan seemed to have a sword on her back earlier. Many sword cultivators carried swords on their backs, so he hadn't paid much attention at the time. Thinking back now, he suddenly realized that sword seemed somewhat unusual. The War Saint Lord asked, the Heaven and Earth Sword, it wouldn't happen to be the sword on Farihan's back, would it? The Sword Saint Lord confirmed the War Saint Lord's guess, yes, it's that sword. Afterwards, I asked Mohan, and she said she didn't receive the inheritance of the Heaven and Earth Sword sect. Obtaining the Heaven and Earth Sword but not receiving the inheritance of the Heaven and Earth Sword sect, what was that about? The Sword Saint Lord said, according to Mohan, the Sword Spirit of the Heaven and Earth Sword told her that the inheritance of the Heaven and Earth Sword sect wasn't worthy of her. The War Saint Lord's eyes immediately widened in disbelief. An ancient great sect, the sect that created the Sword Realm, their supreme inheritance actually said it wasn't worthy of Lin Mohan. Forget about the War Saint Lord, even the Sword Saint Lord was stunned for a long time when she first got this answer. But Lin Mohan wouldn't make things up, and the Sword Saint Lord could see that Lin Mohan truly hadn't received the Heaven and Earth Sword sect's inheritance. The War Saint Lord couldn't help but ask, so that's why you didn't dare to take Farihan as your disciple? The Sword Saint Lord glared at him, of course. Even the Heaven and Earth Sword said it wasn't worthy, how could I dare to take her? Wouldn't that be shortening my own lifespan? The War Saint Lord thought for a moment, do you think Farihan is the reincarnation of an ancient powerful being? The Sword Saint Lord said, the talk of reincarnation is just a legend, it has never been proven. I told this matter to the Heavenly Saint Lord and the House Saint Lord, but they couldn't confirm it either. The War Saint Lord sighed, in such matters, we can only believe it's possible, but can't be certain it's not. The Sword Saint Lord nodded, that's right. I used to think the same way, until 30 years ago when I changed my mind. The War Saint Lord asked curiously, what happened 30 years ago? The Sword Saint Lord said, 30 years ago, Lin Mohan had another breakthrough and was about to advance to the Transcendent Realm. I originally thought she would only enter the half-step Transcendent Realm, and was planning to take her to the battlefield to open the blood path to Transcendence. But at that time, Elder Star sent a message, meaning for Lin Mohan to cross the Law River by her own power to achieve Transcendence. The War Saint Lord's expression changed again, crossing the Law River by oneself? Even for top-tier geniuses, It would take at least 1,000 years, right? Although the foundation would be more solid, it would be a complete waste of time. Using the blood path wouldn't affect becoming a Saint Lord either. The Sword Saint Lord said, I thought the same, but Elderstar insisted, so I had no choice. The War Saint Lord finally understood what was wrong. 30 years ago she had a breakthrough and started crossing the Law River. She didn't use the blood path, but relied on her own power, and now she had already achieved transcendence. In just 30 short years, she achieved transcendence. The War Saint Lord's expression could no longer remain calm, becoming twisted and strange. The Sword Saint Lord couldn't help but laugh. Old War, your expression is very funny. She even took out a mirror to let the War Saint Lord see himself, but the War Saint Lord couldn't laugh at all. He kept repeating one sentence, 30 years. She crossed over in just 30 years. The Sword Saint Lord corrected his words, not 30 years, but 20 years. Mohan only used 20 years to cross the Law River and achieve transcendence. For the past 10 years, she's been cultivating. Only now do I understand why the Sword Spirit of the Heaven and Earth Sword said their inheritance wasn't worthy of Lin Mohan. After entering the transcendent realm, Lin Mohan awakened a sword technique. The power of this sword technique is unprecedented. I feel it's even more terrifying than the supreme inheritance of the Heaven and Earth Sword sect. So I think she really is the reincarnation of an ancient powerful being. The legend is true. Hearing this, the War Saint Lord was completely speechless. Lin Mohan was truly the reincarnation of an ancient powerful being, with inheritance in her bloodline that would only awaken when she reached the transcendent realm. Moreover, he knew that Lin Mohan and Lin Moyu had a blood resonance. Besides her own cultivation, as long as Lin Moyu's realm increased, her realm would increase as well. Combined with her extremely fast cultivation speed, under such circumstances, 1 + 1 was completely greater than 2. Don't look at Lin Mohan having just reached transcendence now. In another 100 years, she might become a Saint Lord. When Lin Moyu becomes a Saint Lord, would Lin Mohan become a Supreme Being? Without the God's path, she would at least be a half-step Supreme Being. Combined with the inheritance in her bloodline and that Heaven and Earth Sword from ancient times, her battle power. The War Saint Lord suddenly felt that the Deep Abyss Demon Lord was in trouble. Lin Mohan probably wouldn't let him off this time. The Deep Abyss Demon Lord had hunted Lin Moyu several times, now it was his turn to cry. The Sword Saint Lord said, you've seen enough. You should go prepare too. The Black Golden Saint Lord isn't easy to deal with. Don't get careless and end up being killed instead. That would be tragic. The War Saint Lord said, don't worry. With the War God Spear, it won't be easy to kill him, but defeating him won't be difficult. Because of the Shimu ancestral tree, all those who had eaten Shimu fruits and later became seeded ones had become eyes and ears for the human race. Through them, the human race knew all the plans of the 100 Race Alliance clearly. Combined with the human race's original surveillance intelligence system, all the movements of the 100 Race Alliance were under the human race's nose. Actually, when the Fu Saint Lord had someone take over the Shimu ancestral tree back then, he didn't expect there would be so many people who had eaten Shimu fruits. There were at least tens of billions, spread among various races. The Shimu fruits were all children of the Shimu race. How could the Shimu race not hate having over 10 billion of their children eaten? The fate of the Shimu race was one of the most tragic even in the Great World. It was bad enough for others to be exterminated, but they were kept in captivity and became food for others. No wonder they had so much resentment, nurturing a terrifying life form with the resentment of their entire race. They hoped to use this terrifying life form to take revenge on those races. Unfortunately, they still failed in the end. Lin Moyu's appearance destroyed all their plans. The life form they nurtured would also become a tool for the human race. The cruel great world was just like this. The victors lived, and also decided the life and death of the losers. In the Divine City's central Divine Palace, the doors that had been closed for over 10 years opened again. The Hao Saint Lord was waiting at the door. As soon as the doors opened, he immediately flew in. Inside the central Divine Palace, a strange aura permeated the air. An array had not yet completely stopped. On the main seat, the Heavenly Saint Lord slowly opened his eyes and let out a long breath. This breath flew out over 100 meters, turning into a thick mist that lingered for a long time. The Hao Saint Lord asked in a deep voice, how was it? The Heavenly Saint Lord looked at the Hao Saint Lord, his gaze calm. There's good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? The Hao Saint Lord said helplessly, don't joke around, just tell me quickly. The Heavenly Saint Lord slowly stood up and waved his hand, throwing out a set of tea utensils. The tea utensils had spirits and began to brew tea on their own. The good news is that I entered that world again. This spirit journey can be considered successful. The bad news is that after I entered, the person I attached to didn't have enough status or strength, so I couldn't get complete enough information. I'll organize the specific information and put it in the Human Emperor network. You can look at it yourself. After spirit journeying for over 10 years, the information the Heavenly Saint Lord obtained was somewhat complex and chaotic, needing to be organized. The How Saint Lord asked, how many supreme beings do they have in their world? Do they have heavenly lords? Nothing else mattered. Only the information about the strongest beings was important. If there were no heavenly lords, and not too many supreme beings, then they still had a chance. The Heavenly Saint Lord organized the information and said after a few seconds, the power levels in that world are quite different from our classifications. Give me some time, I'll tell you after I finish organizing. The How Saint Lord nodded, all right, you organize it first. I'll wait, there's no rush. The Heavenly Saint Lord drank a few cups of tea, his mind rapidly processing, organizing the information he had obtained. What he obtained was not just basic information about that world, but also the power system, various surface situations. After organizing, it still needed to be compared by the Human Emperor network. Based on various situations in that world, they would get answers. After waiting for a full 10 days, the Heavenly Saint Lord finally finished organizing the information, and the Human Emperor network had sorted it out. The information about that world was projected out. Battle Realm. 2 huge characters appeared before their eyes, the name of that world. The How Saint Lord looked at the information brought back by the Heavenly Saint Lord. Not only was he looking, but the Heavenly Saint Lord was also looking. In the Battle Realm, the information one could obtain while attached to someone depended on the person they were attached to. The experiences and observations of the attached person essentially determined the information the Heavenly Saint Lord could obtain. If attached to a low-level person, the information obtained would be minimal. But if attached to a strong person, there was a risk of being discovered. While there wouldn't be any danger, it could lead to the failure of the spirit journey. Although it was possible to change the attached person during the journey, it was difficult and could interrupt the spirit journey. Therefore, the first choice of attachment was crucial. The Heavenly Saint Lord chose someone of mid-level strength in the battle realm, not too strong or too weak. According to the calculations of the Human Emperor network, this person was equivalent to a god king in the great world, capable of knowing enough information. Much of the information the Heavenly Saint Lord obtained during the spirit journey was accepted in a dazed state, memorized like rote learning, and very chaotic. Now he also needed to see what information he had brought back. In the battle realm, there was only one type of cultivator, called a fighter. Fighters were given different titles based on their strength. From weakest to strongest, they were mountain-moving fighters, sea-dividing fighters, earth-splitting fighters, sky-patrolling fighters, and the strongest, starfighters. The Human Emperor network matched this information with the great world's realms. Mountain-moving fighters corresponded to true gods, sea-dividing fighters to god kings, earth-splitting fighters to god lords, and sky-patrolling fighters to transcendence. As for those below mountain-moving, they were considered unranked in the battle realm, collectively called unranked fighters. Upon reaching the corresponding level, they could summon battle armor, with different forms and powers depending on the level, and the titles were derived from this. The person the Heavenly Saint Lord attached to was a sea-dividing fighter, equivalent to a god king in the great world, knowing neither too much nor too little. The strongest person this sea-dividing fighter could come into contact with was a sky-patrolling fighter, the strongest in their city. It was said that above sky-patrolling fighters, there was an even stronger type of fighter called star fighters. But this was just a legend, and he had never seen one. The name Starfighter had appeared in Lin Moyu's small world before. At that time, there was a force called the Holy Fighting God Domain, and starfighters were the strongest within it. The Human Emperor network inferred that starfighters should be supreme beings. In other words, sky-patrolling fighters included both Transcendents and Saint Lords. Most crucially, above starfighters, there was a Battle Emperor. The Battle Emperor was the faith of all in the battle realm, and all fighters served the Battle Emperor. Everyone in the battle realm was a subject of the Battle Emperor. If this was the case, the Battle Emperor might be a heavenly lord. However, the Battle Emperor was just a legend, and no one had ever seen him, so his existence was in doubt. The How Saint Lord frowned deeply as he read this information, feeling that the situation was very troublesome. While the How Saint Lord was reading this information, the Human Emperor and Elder Star were also looking at it. They knew more than the How Saint Lord and others. Elder Star said, "Do you think the Battle Emperor exists?" The Human Emperor said, "He should exist. Everything has a source, just like many myths in small worlds, where the protagonists are actually powerful beings in the great world." Elder Star murmured, "This makes things difficult. If a heavenly lord exists, we have no chance." The human emperor shook his head. He exists, but he may not be in the battle realm. He might have already left. Based on the information I obtained, I made several speculations. The worst case scenario is that there is a heavenly lord in the battle realm. In that case, we have no chance, and all our efforts will be in vain. Elder Star nodded silently. The information about heavenly lords in the human emperor network, though incomplete, was enough to analyze that heavenly lords were extremely powerful and terrifying. The human emperor continued, the second possibility is that there is no heavenly lord in the battle realm, and the battle emperor is just a peak supreme being. After all, the information Lin Moyu brought back said there were no heavenly lords in the battle realm, which is highly credible. Lin Moyu's information came from the Red Star Supreme Being, who inferred it based on what Lin Moyu saw in the Boundary Sea. Comprehensive analysis suggested that the likelihood of no heavenly lord in the battle realm was quite high. Based on this, the worst-case scenario would be the existence of an ultimate peak supreme being. Such an existence was already extremely terrifying, but the great world still had a chance. Elder Star asked, if that's the case, what are our chances? The human emperor closed his eyes and calculated, with our current strength, we have about a 10% chance. A 10% chance was almost like having no chance. Elder Star smiled bitterly, well, at least there's a glimmer of hope. The human emperor was not one to offer comfort. His results were all derived from calculations. The human emperor said, the third possibility is that a long time ago, a powerful being we can't imagine passed through the battle realm and left a legacy there. That being became a myth, the emperor in the hearts of all in the battle realm. This outcome would be very favorable for us, increasing our success rate to 40%. However, it also carries the highest risk of unexpected events, as we might anger a powerful being, leading to the direct destruction of the great world. Elder Star sighed, this is more troublesome than fishing. Isn't there a better outcome? There is. The battle emperor in the battle realm might be a fictional character, not existing at all. But this possibility is very small, less than 10%. The human emperor spoke honestly, neither exaggerating nor downplaying. To Elder Star, less than 10% was equivalent to nothing. Elder Star frowned deeply. Besides our planned arrangements, is there any other way? The human emperor said, there is, but it's very risky. Elder Star's eyes lit up. What way? The human emperor pointed, and a star map of the great world appeared before them, with several red dots on it. Each red dot emitted a bloody aura, seemingly carrying some danger. There were 6 red dots in total, 3 in the outer domain, far from the inner domain. Of the 3 in the inner domain, only one was in the human star region, and it was in the Divine City star region. Elder Star naturally recognized these 6 places. You mean the ancient ruins? The human emperor said, yes, based on current information, in ancient times, there might have been heavenly lords who died in battle, and peak supreme beings too. Their corpses have not decayed over 10,000 years and should be inside. With Lin Moyu's techniques, if he can obtain a heavenly lord's corpse, even if there is a heavenly lord in the battle realm, we wouldn't need to worry. Elder Star looked at the star map, where the 6 scarlet dots glowed like beasts ready to devour, making one shudder. Elder Star sighed, there are many ancient ruins, and we are trying our best to explore them. But these 6 places are the most dangerous known so far. The human emperor said, the more dangerous, the higher the possibility. Not to mention heavenly lords, even if only supreme beings died, their rule worlds might be destroyed, but not completely, leaving remnants. The remnants of rule worlds would automatically evolve into ancient ruins. Depending on the strength of the supreme being before death, the amount of remaining rule power, and the danger of the evolved ancient ruins would vary greatly. Some less dangerous ancient ruins had been explored deeply. But those dangerous ancient ruins were much harder to explore. However, even the worst ancient ruins were evolved from supreme beings' rule worlds, and god lords wouldn't dare enter, as they would likely die. Only transcendents and saint lords could explore them. The 6 ancient ruins on the star map were dangerous even for saint lords, with some having fallen inside. The human emperor suspected that these 6 ruins were likely left by the strongest supreme beings, peak supreme beings. One of them might even be left by a heavenly lord. Elder Star said in a deep voice, you want the young ones to go in again? The human emperor shook his head, no, I want Lin Moyu to go in. Ignoring Elder Star's shock, the human emperor expressed his thoughts. His thoughts were also based on various data, ultimately resulting in a comprehensive analysis. He did not think about the problem with emotional reasoning. All his results were very rational. In the human emperor's calculations, as long as Lin Moyu reached the high-level god lord realm, his combat power could rival that of a saint lord. Once Lin Moyu reached the transcendent realm, his combat power could reach the level of a half-step supreme being. A half-step supreme being would be comparable to Elder Star, or even surpass him. By then, sweeping through the various races would not be a problem. However, beyond that, the human emperor could not calculate further. He did not know if Lin Moyu, upon reaching the Saint Lord realm, could compare to a true supreme being. He did not have specific data on supreme being combat power, and the differences between supreme beings were immense. A powerful supreme being could easily crush a weaker supreme being. The 6 currently known, highly dangerous ancient ruins had been explored before. Over the years, human Saint Lords had visited many times, with 2 Saint Lords dying inside and gaining nothing. Now, even if the House Saint Lord and others went in again, it would not be of much use. So, according to the human emperor's calculations, the most likely person to gain something from these ruins was Lin Moyu. Of course, not now. It would be best to wait until Lin Moyu reached the transcendent realm, or at least the peak of the God Lord realm. If he went now, it would be no different from sending him to his death. Elder Star pondered deeply. I think we should still ask him and let him decide for himself. After all, it's too dangerous. Anything could happen inside. The human emperor nodded. Of course, we can't force him. It will be his own decision. The 100 Race Alliance's army, after several days of preparation, finally assembled and began advancing towards the human race. They were aggressive, occupying a vast star region. Each of the 100 races sent troops, and the numbers were not small. In total, their numbers exceeded 1 billion. While they were preparing, the human race was also continuously increasing their forces to respond to this great battle. However, the human race's forces were only about 500 million, much fewer than the 100 Race Alliance. Fortunately, the human race's war machines were powerful. Fortresses and warships were much stronger than those of the 100 Race Alliance. Among the various races, the human race had the strongest war machines. With these war machines, the human race was not afraid even if they were outnumbered. Moreover, the true deciders of this war's outcome would be the battles between the transcendent Saint Lords. The human race had control over all the movements of the 100 Race Alliance. As soon as the 100 Race Alliance moved, the human race also began to mobilize. 500 million troops advanced, countless warships and fortresses forming battle arrays in space. This time, it was a direct confrontation. Both the 100 Race Alliance and the human race needed a decisive battle. If the human race won this battle, the 100 Race Alliance's momentum would plummet. If they lost, the human race would have to retreat. However, this battle was not the final decisive battle, as not many Saint Lords were involved, and the foundations of both sides had not yet been mobilized. Wars between powerful races were not as simple as one might think. The armies of both sides were separated by millions of kilometers, facing each other from afar. The human transcendents were already distributed throughout the army, ready to deal with the transcendents of the 100 Race Alliance. In terms of the number of transcendents, the human race was also at a disadvantage. But the human race had war fortresses, which could somewhat compensate. Moreover, the human transcendents had significantly stronger combat power than those of the weaker races. Even among transcendents, there were significant differences. On the War God Fortress, the Sword Saint Lord, the War Saint Lord, and Lin Mohan stood side by side. Facing them from afar were the Deep Abyss Demon Lord, the Black Golden Saint Lord, and the Blood Bull Saint Lord. The Deep Abyss Demon Lord saw Lin Mohan and sneered, "Are all your human Saint Lords dead? You actually sent a little girl at the Transcendent Realm." The Sword Saint Lord sneered, "Better than a coward like you, who doesn't even dare to come in person, only sending an avatar." The Deep Abyss Demon Lord had not come in person but had sent an avatar. However, this avatar was very strong, also reaching the Saint Lord level. Creating avatars was a talent of the demon race, and no one knew how many avatars the Deep Abyss Demon Lord had. But such a powerful avatar, he had only one. A Saint Lord avatar, also known as the First Avatar, had combat power weaker than the main body but still stronger than an ordinary transcendent. The Deep Abyss Demon Lord sneered, "Although it's just an avatar, it's enough to kill a transcendent." Lin Mohan's expression was cold, and her sword aura surged, "You can try." The Deep Abyss Demon Lord looked at Lin Mohan, "Little girl, you have quite a temper. Why do you look familiar? My main body hasn't seen you before." Lin Mohan said, "The dead don't deserve to know." Clang. The Sword Saint Lord's long sword was unsheathed, emitting a sword hum, and countless cracks appeared in the starry sky. An invisible sword intent locked onto the Blood Bull Saint Lord. "This bull's head is mine. Tonight, I'll treat everyone to roasted beef, Saint Lord level roasted beef." Her voice echoed through the starry sky, and the human warrior's fighting spirit surged, roaring in unison. War was imminent, and the Blood Bull Saint Lord trembled with anger. Someone actually wanted to turn him into roasted beef. As a Saint Lord, when had he ever been so humiliated? At this moment, another fighting intent fell on the Black Golden Saint Lord. The War Saint Lord's powerful aura locked onto the Black Golden Saint Lord. Add another dish, roasted eagle. Lin Mohan's sword intent also rose, firmly locking onto the Deep Abyss Demon Lord. The three followed their pre-arranged plan and divided their targets. The Deep Abyss Demon Lord chuckled, "Let's see who kills whom. After I kill this little girl, I'll come to help you. Today, 2 human Saint Lords will fall." The Blood Bull Saint Lord sneered, "Today, this old bull will also taste the blood and flesh of human Saint Lords." Fight. With a shout from the Sword Saint Lord, the human race launched the first attack. Countless beams of light shot out from the warships, exploding in the starry sky. The 100 Race Alliance formed battle arrays and quickly counterattacked, and the battle officially began. The Transcendents flew out, distancing themselves from the battlefield for their fight. The power of Transcendent battles was too great, and just the aftermath could cause heavy casualties on both sides. The Saint Lords moved even farther away, creating their own battlefield. The Deep Abyss Demon Lord sneered, "Little girl, come to die." He turned into a mass of dark green flames, instantly flying billions of kilometers away. Lin Mohan sneered, turning into a stream of light that pierced through the starry sky, her speed no slower than the Deep Abyss Demon Lord. The Sword Saint Lord and the War Saint Lord also moved. The Sword Saint Lord's sword intent tore through the starry sky, cutting off the Milky Way. The Blood Bull Saint Lord roared, and a blood-red Mad Bull appeared in the starry sky. The Mad Bull had 2 horns on its head, one crackling with lightning, creating a sea of thunder. The other horn was ablaze, as if it would burn the starry sky to ashes. In the sea of thunder and fire, a sword aura slashed out, and the Sword Saint Lord struck from the sky. The Blood Bull Saint Lord cast a spell, merging the seas of thunder and fire to block the Sword Saint Lord. On the other side, the Black Golden Saint Lord created countless black and gold streams of light, forming a massive net that enveloped the War Saint Lord, trying to trap him. Speed was the Black Golden Saint Lord's advantage, and his speed was so fast that even other Saint Lords could barely see him. But there was no need to see clearly. The War Saint Lord wielded the War God's spear, which roared continuously, tearing the net to shreds. Then the War God's spear's tip pointed, locking onto the Black Golden Saint Lord. The Black Golden Saint Lord's speed slowed down, as the space around him solidified. The War God's spear grew to 100,000 meters long, crushing towards the Black Golden Saint Lord. The Black Golden Saint Lord's expression changed slightly, and he took out a shield covered in feathers. "Let's see how many strikes you can make." The Deep Abyss Demon Lord stopped, sneering at Lin Mohan. "Little girl, you're about to die. Any last words? I can bring them back for you." Lin Mohan slowly drew the Heaven and Earth sword from her back. "Your avatar has no rule world. You're not a true Saint Lord, you're too weak." In the next second, the sword light illuminated the starry sky. The sword light exploded in the starry sky, and sword energy swept across the cosmos. From billions of miles away, several transcendent beings sensed this aura simultaneously, and their expressions changed drastically. They all felt a stinging pain on their skin, as if targeted by the sword energy. Within the sword energy, there was an unparalleled will. This will seemed capable of tearing through the heavens, threatening to annihilate the entire world. However, at this moment, Lin Mohan had not truly swung her sword. She had merely raised the Heaven and Earth sword. The Abyss Demon Lord's face changed dramatically, his eyes filled with disbelief. "Impossible, you are just a transcendent, how can you be this strong?" Lin Mohan did not explain. With a delicate shout, she swung her sword. One sword to shatter the void. The starry sky shattered, and the sword light, 1,000 times more brilliant than before, swept across the cosmos in an instant. The power of the rules boiled over, transforming into countless sharp swords, which then formed a world made entirely of swords. This world of swords surrounded the Abyss Demon Lord, leaving him no escape. The abyssal fire that had shrouded his body for eons suddenly extinguished at this moment. His true form was finally revealed, emaciated, pitch black, and hideously demonic. The Abyss Demon Lord let out a terrified scream. "Who are you? Who exactly are you?" Lin Mohan's melodious voice echoed, "The dead are not worthy of knowing." The Abyss Demon Lord unleashed his full power, and the abyssal fire reignited as he tried to resist, but it was futile. The world of swords exploded in the starry sky, tearing the entire cosmos to pieces. Layers of space shattered, revealing the deep space beneath. Spatial chaos erupted in the deep space, but it was soon obliterated as well. The power of this sword was absurdly strong, even suppressing the spatial chaos, its terrifying force reaching the deepest parts of the world and colliding with the world's barriers. It was as if the entire world was roaring. Billions of miles away, the transcendent beings spat blood, knocked back by the shockwave. Countless wounds appeared on their bodies, as if slashed by sharp swords. Their eyes were filled with shock, and more so with fear. Just the aftershock, separated by billions of miles, was enough to injure them. It was truly terrifying. They looked at Lin Mohan, this female swordmaster holding a treasured sword, so heroic and extraordinary at this moment. With the body of a transcendent, she had slain the Abyss Demon Lord with one sword. Even though it was just an avatar of the Abyss Demon Lord, not his true form, and lacked a rule world. Nevertheless, it was far stronger than an ordinary transcendent. With this sword, Lin Mohan was like a celestial sword fairy, unmatched in elegance. After slashing out this sword, Lin Mohan's face turned slightly pale, but her aura remained steady. She suddenly turned around, heading back to the battlefield, targeting the other transcendent beings. The transcendent beings she targeted were scared out of their wits, screaming as they turned to flee. But they hadn't flown far when a sword light pierced the starry sky, directly impaling one of them. The powerful transcendent exploded in the sword light, his blood and flesh scattering across the cosmos. Lin Mohan waved her hand, and a piece of flesh flew back to her, which she collected. Xiao Yu needs this. Lin Mohan murmured to herself, then charged towards another transcendent. The Abyss Demon Lord was slain with one sword, and both the Black Golden Saint Lord and the Blood Bull Saint Lord's eyes widened. Impossible. The two of them shouted in unison. But the fact was undeniable, there was nothing impossible about it. The War Saint Lord's eyes narrowed sharply. He finally understood why the Sword Saint Lord was so confident in letting Lin Mohan face the Abyss Demon Lord alone. This Lin Mohan was actually this powerful. That sword just now, even he wouldn't dare say he could take it unscathed. Perhaps he could block it with the War God Spear, but without a magical weapon, he would be severely injured if not killed. Siblings, both monsters, the War Saint Lord cursed, and the War God Spear roared again, charging towards the Black Golden Saint Lord. At the same time, he popped a pill into his mouth, and his aura surged, boosting the power of the War God Spear. The Black Golden Saint Lord let out a strange cry, pulling out a long golden spear and hurling it fiercely. At this moment, he had lost all will to fight. Witnessing the Abyss Demon Lord being slain, his fear reached its peak. If that female monster came back, he might die too. That sword was simply too stunning, too terrifying. The golden spear collided with the War God's spear and shattered on the spot. The Black Golden Saint Lord spat blood and was knocked back millions of kilometers. At the same time, he shouted, "Retreat." Sword light sword, accompanied by the Sword Saint Lord's angry shout. Sword light illuminated the starry sky again, and a brilliant sword light like a river of stars appeared in the cosmos. A scream came from the Blood Bull Saint Lord, who quickly fled. Half of his body had been cut off, and Saint Lord blood spilled across the sky. The 100 Race Alliance's army, upon receiving the Black Golden Saint Lord's order, immediately began to retreat. Although they retreated, it wasn't chaotic. Everyone knew that chaos would mean death. The human race pursued for millions of kilometers, showing no intention of letting them go. It wasn't until the transcendent beings returned that the Sword Saint Lord ordered the pursuit to stop. Once the transcendent beings took action, many ordinary soldiers would die, which was unnecessary. This battle was already a great victory. No one expected victory to come so quickly. From start to finish, it took less than 10 minutes. One could say the battle ended before the warm-up was even over. The reason was Lin Mohan's stunning sword, which instantly killed the Abyss Demon Lord and quickly secured victory. No one had expected this, especially the War Saint Lord. He had originally thought that Lin Mohan was impressive, but that being able to contend with the Abyss Demon Lord would already be very strong. He planned to defeat the Black Golden Saint Lord first, then go help Lin Mohan. He never thought he could kill the Black Golden Saint Lord, given the latter's status as a Saint Lord and his identity with the Golden Eagle clan. If he wanted to escape, it would be hard to kill him. Unexpectedly, he underestimated Lin Mohan, who killed the Abyss Demon Lord with just one sword. Moreover, she continued to chase and kill transcendent beings, with 3 dying by her hand. The Sword Saint Lord returned with half of the Blood Bull Saint Lord's body, her voice echoing through the army. Half of the Blood Bull's body will be distributed as rewards. The warriors erupted in thunderous roars, their shouts filled with joy. This battle was won too easily. If one word could describe it, it would be shuang. Shuang means refreshing or satisfying. Throughout the battle, the Human Emperor Network monitored everything, clearly recording everyone's performance. The Blood Bull's flesh would be distributed based on merit, and many people would get a small piece. That was the flesh of a Saint Lord. Even a piece the size of a fingernail could be a family heirloom. Of course, the Saint Lords and transcendent beings wouldn't participate in this. Such things had happened many times in recent decades, and no one had any objections. The War Saint Lord looked at Lin Mohan. Fairy Han, can you teach that sword move you used just now? Lin Mohan shook her head, directly refusing. You all can't learn it. The Sword Saint Lord said, I asked before. This sword move requires a special bloodline. No one but Mohan can use it. Is that so? The War Saint Lord finally understood. He thought for a moment, can Lin Xiaoyu learn this sword move? Lin Mohan shook her head again, no. The Sword Saint Lord laughed heartily, don't ask anymore. I've already asked everything. This sword move is unique to Mohan, one of a kind. The War Saint Lord nodded. This battle was won so quickly thanks to Fairy Han. After this battle, Fairy Han's name will spread across the cosmos.